Hello everyone and welcome to Season 5, Episode 21 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in NXT history with match number 30 on our list, which is the NXT Tag Team title match between the champions, the Undisputed Era of Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, against the challengers Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch from the NXT TakeOver Chicago 2 event held on June the 16th of 2018. So I'd like to apologize. The past two videos that I did, my numbering and the introductions was a little bit out of order, but the titles of the videos and everything like that are correct. So, if I said the wrong number on the countdown, I apologize. Sometimes my notes get a little haywire. This match, though, is it's an absolute thrill ride, and it's something that, really surprised me a little bit on this rewatch project because I really liked it at the time. But watching it now, it just feels so fresh and different. And, all of these guys, as of a couple of days ago, are no longer in NXT. So it's got that little bit of the nostalgic punch to it now, too. And I actually apologize for saying that. I was thinking of Bobby Fish. Roderick Strong is still in NXT. But, three of the four are no longer there. So this match, it opened the TakeOver Chicago tier show. Chicago WWE pay-per-views, they always generally have pretty hot crowds. There's something to look forward to, especially, TakeOver Chicago's. And something that, I've talked about this before is the opener to me is just as an important match, in the overall setting up of an event as the main event is, right? Your main event is the match that, draws the people and, it ends your show. It's, the climax of the show. It's the conclusion of the show. But the opener, really needs to pack a punch. It needs to get that crowd hot and, keep that momentum going for the rest of the show. And this match is a perfect opening contest. It starts out with something that would normally, bother me just a little bit because I am a little bit of a traditionalist sometimes, in that the champs enter first, which I never like, right? If the champion should always enter last for a title match. But it was kind of a cool opening. They do the show like, welcome to NXT, TakeOver Chicago 2. And then it immediately goes into that, shock the system, opening of the Undisputed Era theme song. The Undisputed Era was the hottest act in NXT at this time. So, the crowd hearing that, and they had Adam Cole, who was a really big star, actually had no match on the show, which was kind of weird. But, Adam Cole comes out with Strong and O'Reilly, and it really kind of brought that buzz, and got the crowd up right away. They were excited to see these guys come out. So I really had no problem with it here because it started, right from the entrance, it started this match off hot. A lot more than the Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, theme song would have done, that's for sure. This match though, it's, I've talked about, already in this countdown, in match number 50, how great Oney Lorcan was, in this era of NXT, specifically in 2017, but coming into 2018, he had found, what I was hoping would be his push, in the tag team with Danny Burch. And it's funny because, although ultimately they would end up getting a run with the NXT tag team titles that unfortunately was derailed, by injury, this really felt to me like kind of his biggest moment that he got in NXT was this match and this title shot on this big event. Oney Lorcan is so incredible. Danny Burch is no, slouch himself. Martin Stone is a great pro wrestler. Roderick Strong is one of the best of all time. O'Reilly is great. I've talked about this as well, that I prefer the O'Reilly and Strong pairing to the Red Dragon pairing of O'Reilly and Fish. So you take all of these guys and they're going to have chemistry and this is going to be a hard-hitting match. And that's exactly what it is. And it blows you away a little bit. Just right from the get-go in this match, because I think we fall into these patterns, especially with tag team matches, that they often, they go a certain way. They'll start out kind of even. The heels will take control. They'll get the heat. The babyface will get the hot tag. Things break down. Sometimes we'll get a second heat sequence depending on the length of the match. And at this point, things just go crazy to lead into our finish, right? People call it like the Young Bucks style of tag team wrestling, but whatever you want to call it. Not to say this match doesn't follow that pattern, because it does, but the opening is really different because The heels start to try to quickly go into that heat sequence, right? But there's, every time they try it, the faces are cutting them off, and there's so many tags being used. Both teams are like rapidly tagging in and out and in and out in the first couple of minutes of the match. And it has this bit of a different feel to it. And like I said, the heels they can't get on the same page. They can't get this advantage. All of these like little tricks and tactics that they'll try to use to cut the ring off, none of it is working. And Lorcan and Burch, they show on this night that they don't want to be denied. There's like a really kind of cool little clever spot where, Kyle O'Reilly starts doing his like Antonio Inoki garbage, right? Where he lies on his back and he's like, come on. But while he's doing that allows Strong to get a cheap shot in, and O'Reilly pounces. But even that, Oney's able to weather the storm, and they can't get that advantage going until finally, several minutes into the match, O'Reilly's kind of got Burch. I want to keep calling him Martin Stone, so I apologize if I do, but he's got Danny Burch, kind of like tied up off the ring apron, and Strong just blasts him with a big baseball slide, and they were able to use the outside to their advantage, much like they did in their match against Mustache Mountain that I talked about earlier in this countdown, to finally get that momentum and turn that into your more traditional tag team match. So we get a fairly lengthy, heat sequence on Martin Stone, and it's all, really good. And Kyle O'Reilly finally goes, for axe and smash, right? That like axe kick and forearm smash that he does. But he gets the axe kick, and then as he's coming in for the forearm, Martin Stone just like gives him a big headbutt. And that allows the hot tag. And the hot tag in this match is incredible. It's Oney Lorcan, Biff Busick at his best. He comes in a house of fire, and I talked about this in the Lars Sullivan match, but this dude just throws his body at his opponents just with complete reckless abandon, and it's so compelling to watch, and it's amazing. Like I talk about physical charisma, and it's funny because like, when I talk about physical charisma, I talk a lot of times about like facial expressions and things like that. And with Oney Lorcan, you're not getting that. You're getting like just all of this body chemistry, but it's like body chemistry through violence, right? And it's so cool and it's so compelling, and he just absolutely excels at that. So he comes in off the hot tag, he just hurls his body at one of them with a drop kick, hurls his body at another with a flying European uppercut, sends them both to the floor, hurls his body over the top rope with that big flip dive he does. Gets a really great near fall on Roderick Strong with the half Nelson suplex, which was his finisher on the indies, and a running European uppercut, but it only gets to the heels try to take over, but we extend the hot tag as he's able to fight them both off, and he gets them both in opposite corners and starts running back and forth, with euros and forearms and things like that. He nails them both with like a double blockbuster, flying over the top with the neck breaker on both of them. And then we get another just really great near fall where Burch and Lorcan hit the London Bridge, the assisted London Bridge. So that's where Lorcan's kind of got Strong like positioned over his shoulder, and Danny Burch hits a DDT, but he kind of gets like elevated on the top of his head for it. So they hit the London Bridge, and Kyle's able to make the save for 2. And then the cutoff they do, to eventually end this hot tag, which is so much longer than a normal hot tag would be, how they do with this sequence. Again, kind of, fitting into the difference in the lengthening of that opening before the heels get the advantage. It's so nasty and it's so violent, and it fits this match so well. So Burch and Lorcan go for the Doomsday European uppercut, which they were using as a finisher. And when Oney's on the top rope, he gets pushed off the top rope, and he takes a flip bump onto the ring apron. Just completely nasty. And it legitimately takes him out of the match for several minutes and allows us to move into that second heat sequence on Danny Burch. So during this time, Kyle O'Reilly works the arm, does a good job of that, gets a cross arm breaker on for a while. Burch is able to get to the ropes on that. And then the Undisputed Era, they go in for the kill, and they hit a bunch of double teams, and they go for the high-low, which was the Red Dragon finisher that Strong and O'Reilly had also adopted. And as they go for that, Danny's able to kind of slip out and duck and avoid it, gets both of them to the floor, and out of nowhere, here comes Oney Lorcan, back from the ring apron, and he flies off and hits the double blockbuster that he used so effectively in the ring. He hits it on both of them on the apron, or off the apron onto the floor. They get Kyle O'Reilly in. They hit the Doomsday Euro. 100% bit on this, at the time when I watched this match as the finish, and still watching it now, super hot near fall. But they do, Adam Cole makes his presence felt at ringside for the first time and pulls Kyle O'Reilly out to break the count. This leads to the always fun crowd interactive spot of the referee, saying, "You're out of here," and ejecting, Adam Cole from ringside. And then that's where we move into the finishing sequence for this match, which is completely gnarly and super hot. They go for the London Bridge once again, but Martin Stone, can't execute his DDT piece because of the bad arm. So they actually change it up, which I thought was really cool, with Danny Burch holding, one of the Undisputed Era members over his good shoulder for Biff to hit the DDT. But he gets pulled out. Kyle O'Reilly turns it into a guillotine on Oney Lorcan. He manages to get out of that with a Northern Light suplex, and he ends up hitting a chop block on Roderick Strong, and hits a big power bomb, and then transitions it into the half crab. So that Achilles lock, that was a big Eddie Edwards staple. Eddie Edwards and Oney Lorcan, as Biff Busick had quite the feud in Beyond Wrestling, so it was a great little tribute that he would since use that move. So he's got it on Strong, and just this great visual where Kyle O'Reilly, starts unloading with kicks to the face of Oney Lorcan, but he keeps cranking on this Achilles lock on Roderick Strong. Danny Burch comes in, grabs a crossface on Kyle O'Reilly, and we get the tease of the double tap out, and I love that because arguably one of the best tag team matches in NXT history is the 2 out of 3 falls match between the Revival and DIY, where, that finishes with the double tap out. So, they kind of had that great little callback here to that, where, people were completely buying it as the finish. The crowd's, super hot. While he's in the crossface, Kyle O'Reilly kind of is able to turn around and starts throwing these up kicks at Oney Lorcan's head until he eventually has to break the Achilles lock on Strong. This leads into just like a 4-way strike exchange. It's stiff, it's brutal, the crowd is going nuts. Roderick Strong blasts Danny Burch with a knee strike, which takes him out. Oney Lorcan, he does this signature, he would do it in his matches with Drew Gulak and Timothy Thatcher, where he just grabs somebody by the chin, if they have facial hair, he'll grab them by the beard, and just starts to proceed to slap the hell out of him. He did it in the Lars Sullivan match. I talked about it there. So he starts, throwing these just brutal slaps at Kyle, but Roderick Strong comes out of nowhere and just blasts him with a knee strike. O'Reilly finally hits Axe and Smash, that he couldn't successfully hit earlier in the match on Burch. But as he's hitting that forearm smash, Strong throws another just brutal jumping knee. At this point, Oney Lorcan's completely done for. It leaves him open. He gets killed with the high-low, and that's enough for the 3 count. And I loved this too because it wasn't, this elongated, near fall finisher spamming, finishing sequence. It was just 4 guys that had brutalized each other for, 12 plus minutes that finally just all bets were off and they were going to hit each other till, somebody wasn't left standing. And unfortunately, on this night, that was Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, and it was enough to put him away. You get an excellent post-match here too, with the standing ovation for Lorcan and Burch. As fans of those guys, a huge Biff Busick fan myself, that was, really nice to see and a great little moment. It was akin to Becky Lynch, at TakeOver Unstoppable, or, Benoit the 03 Rumble, or whatever you want to compare it to, where these guys that are really hard workers just put in, career performances and got their flowers from the fans afterward. Coming into this match, maybe nobody gave them a snowball's chance in hell of winning. Maybe the crowd wasn't even super familiar with them, hence, the reversal of the entrance themes. But by the end of the match, they knew Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, and they knew that they went to war with 2 of the best wrestlers in NXT and one of the better tag team matches, ever done in the history of NXT. This match, I don't know if I want to call it a hidden gem because it's on a TakeOver, but it is really, really great, and I feel it doesn't get talked about it enough. I loved it at the time, even though I really hoped that Biff was going to win a belt at the time. But watching it now, it's even better. It's a classic tag team opener in front of a hot crowd. You can watch it, of course, on Peacock. If you're outside the US, you can watch it on the WWE Network. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. And please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.